Another before the Sabbath. It's time to rock and roll. Load my backpack. 50-cent candy for the aftermath. 50-cent candy. 50-cent candy. So that's $1.50. 50-cent candy bar. And $1.75. $1.75 Canadian. 555. I recommend 5 pyramids. I got 5 pyramids. 5 pyramids. So that's rock and roll. Gonna put on this backpack and we're gonna rock and roll all the way to the mountain. Although it's starting to rain a bit, we're gonna see how the weather presents, and if not, of course, we're gonna interrupt and make it part 1 and part 2. It is April 18th, and we're going to my second home before the Sabbath. It's 4:30. You're gonna put on the backpack. It's got those red gloves on it, red gloves, and we're gonna go to the mountain and back. To the mountain and back. Already am about 1 hour and 44 minutes. And a few seconds on the red scarf, the red scarf on it. About an hour and 44 an hour and 44 minutes on my march on these steel toes. And we're going around about. From my neighborhood, I just paid about $4.40, I think. Less than $5 for the candy. So that was a good on the budget, because I said I'm giving myself a budget of maximum 11, so went underneath the budget. You know, here, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and that's how I gotta get going all the way, rock and roll all the way to the mountain, and gotta get it on the go with that, and that's how we gotta get it going, you know. So grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and all the way to the mountain. We're gonna turn our heads left or right, because you never know, sometimes the cars, they come fast. Turn left or right, even if there's a stop, you know. They might come, they might interject, and they might, you know, the cars might just not, brakes might not fully function, and citizen driver might press the accelerator. So it's always up to us, even if it's the green pedestrian, to decide to cross the street. If it's your way, if it's on the way and you cross the street, just turn your heads left or right here from my neighborhood, going out to my other second home, and gotta begin with gratitude, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and on these steel stoves, auctioning the scarf red, $1 million, the boots, $1 million, the pants, the underwear, the socks, $1 million, to give 50%, half to my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money, and rock and roll. Thank you for the jacket, another gift from my anonymous friend. And second, you know, it's like thrift, but this kind of feels brand new. And this one, I found it. This is a jacket I found exactly after I moved, just before I moved. It's a jacket I found, of course. I used to live in a moldy underground, literally underground, moldy. It was a lot of whitish, greenish, blackish, and whitish kind of combination of the colors of MOLD mold. And you know, I moved from there, and I remember moving a few years ago. It's been maybe it's gonna be 10 years, I believe. And I was depressed, suicidal, like cross Canada coast to coast, you know. I got out of being depressed, being suicidal when crossing Canada coast to coast. That made me, of course, establish the strongest spirit of call with my fellow Canadians, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get doing, you know. And it's something which we gotta get on the mindfulness of the XYZ, and here we gotta be grateful, thankful. I survived COVID back in 2020. And that's how we gotta get doing with the gratitude, you know, because civilization is a privilege and it's tough times, and we gotta get it on the love, you know, to turn our heads left or right. And that's how we gotta see here, for example, when you cross the street, still double check. Just out of prudence, it's always good to double check and double prudence, and make sure you cross the street safely, prudently. And I'm checking because I gotta see the prices, because I'm always tight on that budget, and I got a little bit of wine left. Not a lot, a little bit, like a quarter of a glass in my place. So that's gonna be after midnight when the Sabbath begins, you know. Sabbath of the Dancing Goddess in the Dragon Kingdom begins at midnight. After midnight tonight, it is Friday, April 18th, 2025, or year 121 after the receiving of that holy H-O-L-Y book of the law, which I transcribed a few times in English. Here it is, you know, Booker Law, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the transmission side of things. And always grateful, thankful, rent's paid, electricity bills paid, although financially stressed, you know. $10,000 in debt. I'm rich in kisses. Kisses got the kisses from the goddess GODDSS by the trillions. I will to build a forgotten goddess temple because I created my COVID, and that's a beauty. I created my surviving COVID to the GODDSS, the goddess. Say God, goddess, so many things I don't know, mystery. I'm a wannabe Thelemite, and all I know is that in 2020, between February and March 2020, you know, I died of COVID, and I'm being reborn, and gotta keep those protocols, and gonna let my fellow citizens there, give them some space with the, I'm assuming it's electric, play tool and let them play, and let our streets of the North American Collective, Canada, United States joint be places where people can play, you know, safely in the streets, and turn them into playgrounds, you know. And this Quebecer Canadian who was born in the United States 3 times post 1776, you heard that correct. Just read Trey Glass Darkly, George Patton. I discuss often my beliefs in reincarnations, and reincarnation, sometimes a man, a woman, a man, a woman, a woman, a man. And today, now this video made, Adrian Hanna Dragon, you get that 50-50, androgynous pansexual 50-50, and get that red and white together, gotta go is good. It makes me think of the Canadian flag, which I always have it tatted on my arm. Got that Canada flag, you know, so I look at those flags, you know, I always have it on me. I don't know when I tat it up, because it seems like it's been decades and decades, you know, like probably more than 22 years or so, but nonetheless, you know, nonetheless, that's what we gotta go do with that. And I will to build the Forgotten Goddess GODDSS temple, and I will to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. Let's build it together. You know, this is a continuing Dragon versus Trump now that Trump is back in the White House, and second Trump administration. It's another Dragon versus Trump special edition. Have been, and will continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match to fight me on the Canadian-US border, to fight me on the Canadian-US border in case of a thermonuclear, case of course of a, and since, I mean, the motive, and when I started challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match was ever since, of course, ever since Donald Trump, of course, started imposing tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel. And I don't know about that vote, it's voting season, but the king is absent, and I gotta say, nothing personal, Mr. Carney and Uncle Carney, because Quebecers, Canadians, North Americans, brothers and sisters in the 50 states USA are my brothers and sisters, but that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with the XYZ, and you know, so we gotta get carrying on. And of course, the king is absent, it's time for the Republic, and I did not like that, Carney. Of course, it was after 9 years, more than 9 years of Justin Trudeau, but nonetheless, Carney, of course, pledged allegiance. D for Deutschland or D for Dragon is on that card. That's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the go, and that's how we gotta keep on interjections, and so we gotta get doing, you know. But nonetheless, you know, pledging allegiance to the King of England and his heirs, as Carney did a few weeks ago. It's something which gotta go. The king is absent. It's time for the Republic, and my ideas, protocols for fusing the true north, strong and free with my brothers and sisters are south of Canada best via public-private partnership, and my holy trinity, the DRT, Death Row Fusion Theory, the CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, and the Democratic Fusion Theory best to fuse Canada, United States, the true north, strong and free with the home of the brave, land of the free, home of the brave. You both gotta add some LOV in it, because we cannot just be brave, and we cannot just be free, and we cannot just be free, and we cannot just be brave only. We gotta add some love in somebody better. Is it too much to ask of my fellow Canadians and brothers and sisters in the USA, the strong and the free in Canada, and the land of the free, home of the brave in the USA, to hug like you never hugged before, a whole hour, a period of hockey, you know. Period of hockey is 20 minutes. You got 3 periods, and you got those 3 periods, and gridiron, whatever the case may be, football is of course another 15 minutes, and that's how we gotta get doing with the hugging, a whole hour. Is that too much to ask? To just HUG for a whole hour, to HUG. And I was just checking the other candidate there, I guess for the Conservative Party, but got a few party. I guess we got multi-party because it's not just a bi-cameral like two-party system like the mostly there's independent, but not considerable margins. It's mostly dominated USA politics and the Congress by the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And of course I am a Democratic Republican, pro-labor and love, universal revolutionary centrist. My centrism is of course universal revolutionary, but it's for the North American collective. It's tied hand in hand and inseparable for my 21st century call to the great public-private partnership of the North American collective, or the North American civilizational complex, of which we Quebecers, Canadians here have made the great linguistic compromise, and we continue to do it. It requires individual effort, but we made it so far. And of course my brothers and sisters all who come to join here in the new world, you know, from all over the world. And we got a little bit of that X, and we got a little bit of that Y, you know. Sometimes we got a little bit of that left and right and center and public-private partnership. And I'm just gonna get out of the way. I think I see blurred, my vision. I gotta go check again, because I think I might get something on my vision, kind of get it on the love side of things, and we gotta get it for the love, and gotta cross and gotta love the children, let the children play, and the family, or I don't know their relation, mom and dad, but I make an effort to step a little bit out. I thought they were coming this way, but it seems that they're playing there safely. I gotta move on the side, you know, so because I have Asperger's, so I'm neurodivergent, and that's what it is with that. So I gotta turn my head left or right here. Just gonna go on the car, and here they got a stop sign, although it's one way. Still gotta stop, and it's something which we gotta be prudent here. It's one way because we want our children to play, you know, and I consider all my families here, the elders, the youth, all ages, my family here, as I march my Quebecer family, Canadian family, and all who come to join us, of course, because, you know, we have here come from all over the world, and we got to get it on the love side of things and action, you know, and compromise sometimes, you know. Understanding and love is required. We cannot just rule everything and base everything of our civilizational complex on force and strength. As much as I understand in these tough economic, financial, geopolitical times, peace through strength, I do not fully support it. As much as I understand it, and my, you know, me with Asperger's, HFA, high functioning autism, it's of course something which we gotta get on the do with that, and get it on the do with the love, and now you gotta see it on the love part of things and get it on the go. That's what it is with that, and that's what it is with LV, man, you know. So something which we gotta be loving, and that's why we gotta go loving, and now just makes me happy and joyous and content extra. I have my smile just doubled because, you know, I saw those, I guess, young couple or lovers, or they just met and decided to hook up. I don't know, I don't like to assume, you know, I don't know, but it makes me happy, and I like to matchmake, and, you know, I like to see love, you know, LOV, and of all types. You know, you want to come make LOVE, love with me, black, white, rainbow women, yeah, because I am androgynous pansexual. I'm 50-50, and I am pansexual and have been in the open for years and years and years. I'm not, don't hide it, I have been in the open and wave my rainbow flag, dragon 24/7. It's not just one day a year, the Pride Parade, where I am, and we are, LGBTQ, bisexual, homosexuals, and pansexuals, and we're pretty much 24/7. It's not just a one day thing. One day of the parade. But anyways, and whatever the case may be, I just love to see enough on that. But I have Asperger's. So Asperger's, people who are Asperger's like myself, our brains are made different. So we have a neurodivergence, because Asperger's is not a mental illness. It is a neurological, mental, divergent psychic condition. And we have what are called characteristics, because saying that they're symptoms doesn't render justice to what Asperger's is, because it's a lot of confusion, a lot of misunderstanding. It's not an illness which you can catch. It's not transmissible. It's not contagious. Whether you have Asperger's, your brain is different. An Asperger's brain is made just different. So we process certain things in a different way, and we are different, and we see the world differently. So certain things like social communications and social interactions can be very strange, and we can have certain characteristics which seem weird and strange and weird and strange and weird and strange and abnormal and not normal, right? So that's just how we are. But we also have our strengths. So as much as we have our vulnerabilities and weaknesses, and sometimes we can be very direct and offend. Sometimes we can be very direct and offend. We can offend and be direct in certain things, but we don't mean to. It's not by meanness or viciousness or cruelty or whatsoever. It's just because sometimes our brains are different. But if anybody just tell me, and if I do offend, just I'm able to apologize, and I made many mistakes, and we're just part of this it's not even 1%, it's not even 0.5%. So Asperger population is estimated at 0.44%. 0.44, so less than half of a percentile, 0.44%. So it's a tiny, small fraction of the population. Fraction of the population. So it's a fraction of the population who have Asperger's. Is that just how it is? So our brains are different, and we're neurodivergent, and my, of course, obsessive theory is, of course, special interest, and that's what it is with that, a special interest. It's not an obsession. Obsession has a more negative sense, a more negative sense to it. An obsession is something which has a negative connotation to it. The obsessive is something which is prone towards more negative terminology, to use obsessive. I'm going to use the proper term, which is a special interest, which my holy trinity, geopolitics 24/7, sports, fitness, dancing is my favorite sport, even I bust a dance move now, and rock and roll. So those special interests are 24/7. It's a constant thing. It's constant. So it's 24/7. It's not just one time or 1 hour. It's hours and hours and hours and days. Hours and hours and hours. 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 A day. So I can spend hours immersed in doing geopolitical analysis and geopolitical theorizing, in analyzing geopolitics. And I do spend, even today, I spent a few hours, and it's on a daily basis. And I take great pride in my independent geopolitical theoretical analysis. And of course, I am an independent theoretical analyst and theorist, and an independent analytical theoretical analyst and theorist, which of course I gotta say, and I do repeat what I say because it's an important part of my work, but of course I have predicted what's happening now. Back in 2019, I have predicted that there's going to be an international conflagration And I have proof of work because I do have the hundreds of videos related to geopolitics and hundreds of theoretical papers, Well, not hundreds of papers per se, but I meant hundreds of pages, which different papers, or maybe even thousands of pages, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on that, you know, together. So gotta get it on the love side of things, you know, and gotta get it on that bird side, you know. So it's basically those special interests which Aspies like myself have. They can be very intense, very focused. That's what it is with that, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on that things, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing on the love side. So basically, with super intensity, super focus, super concentration, intensity, and focus. When I am involved in doing geopolitical analysis or research, I am so super focused and concentrated that I neglect other things. So that's the problem. Because my brain, think of it like you have an application. You have some software, and that software application is dedicated. Let's say you have a few, or you have just, those take a big space in it, you know, big space in it, you know. So that's what it is with that. So take big space in it. Yeah, it takes big space in it, you know. Yeah, that big space in it. Just the majority of the space in my brain is dedicated to geopolitics, sports and fitness, and of course sports, fitness, geopolitics, and rock and roll. So that is a constant. It doesn't change, right? And has been for years and years and years. At least since I got out of being depressed and suicidal in 2017, when I crossed Canada coast to coast, depressed and suicidal. A lot of Asperger's, there's a higher than average propensity towards depression. It's a high in the Aspi community, of which we are Asperger's. So in the Aspi community, there's high unemployment rate, unfortunately, because there's a lot of, again, misunderstandings of what Asperger's is. There's a lot of stigma still. There's a lot of misunderstandings about Asperger's. We're just different. We have to be told more directly, and there's certain things that just come very difficult. You know, just come very difficult. And we tend to focus on, like, that's what it is, and it's just this difference makes us predisposed, like I said, the special interest or obsessive interest. But I don't use the term obsessive. Obsession has a more negative connotation, you know. When you say an obsession, has a more negative. It's negative, right? Obsession is more negative. But special interest, it renders more justice to what Asperger's is. So being an Aspi, part of the tiny minority, there's a high unemployment. It's very high. It's 2/3. 2/3 is a lot. It's 66%. 2/3. The latest estimations, they can be even higher some regions, but it's very high. And again, it's because the problem maintaining a job and employment, because we always have to build bridges with neurotypicals, because our brains are different, and so our communications, when we communicate, we might seem off and misunderstandings, and not really. It requires a reciprocal effort to understand, a reciprocal effort. So it's reciprocity. But again, Asperger's is not common. So it's being part of this tiny, small, petite minority of people who have it, who have Asperger's. We're prone to certain details. We're prone to focusing on certain details. For example, on this specific Vision Zero, I want to know more about it. What is that exactly? It could be things like the year of the fabrication, or it could be on this. See, for example, obsessing or being interested about those numbers, because they see there's a variance in the numbers. There's a variances. And there's a pattern. I know that there's a pattern. Maybe that's the whole number. And see, we notice that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the other one is also 7 numbers and 7. So it's sequences of 7 numbers. Now this one is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 7 numbers, 7 numbers, 7, 7. 5 times 7. And they all differ. And do they differ from this one? No. This one seems to be exactly the same number. Okay, it repeats. See, it's just the same thing, just there. Small, just to say that those small details like that, Aspies, and some people will say, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? WTF? But it's just Asperger's is like that. And even in the story, tend to inspect things closely to see where they're made in, and for years and years and years, and smell things. And so those are odd, right? It's not common to see somebody smelling things in the public, or the way the functioning, or certain questions or certain interactions which seem weird and odd, so that's what it's just Asperger characteristics again, because it's not symptoms. And here's kind of where my old neighborhood begins. I used to live down there a few, in a moldy place, on the ground moldy place. There was like whitish, blackish, reddish, green mold, and nothing that I will to go back to. Of course, I live there now, but it's better where I am now. And I have lost some memory. Now I have RA, retrograde amnesia, and sometimes the memory comes back with treatment, or it just comes back. Sometimes it doesn't, My memory is very good of the past 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then it's like a blackout. I remember moving and cross Canada, coast to coast, started exercising, and I remember being attacked by surprise, fell, hit my head, had a dislocated right arm, and went to the hospital. I was put on some medications, on some meds. I was kind of like out in a coma like for a few days, kind of like a psyllium pyoid episode, and I have plenty of scars on my body. I got plenty of scars on the body, plenty of scars, literal scars, internal and external trauma. So I know I have a high school diploma from 2023, so 22 years, and that's what it is with that, and that's what it is with the XYZ, so that's what we got to get doing with the love side of things, and we got to get doing for the love, so that's something which we got to get on the proper side of things, of what Asperger's is, being that it is this neurodivergence. And I live with the characteristics, and it's constantly a management of the symptoms. I constantly gotta work on the managing the symptoms, management of the correction. I don't like to use the word symptoms. I do not like. The symptoms is for a malady and illness, while Asperger's is just our brain is different, and we're just different. So it's not a symptom, it's a characteristics. So the characteristic of an Asperger's, an Aspi, can manifest itself in certain ways. One of the main manifestations is these special interests, highly focused interests, where we are super concentrated, super dedicated, super involved. And they can, but the problem is that these interests can interfere with the rest of the functioning of the other things in life. They can interfere with the other things in life. So they can interfere with other things in life. It could be, neglecting, maybe, whatever the case may be, neglecting around the home, maybe, I always got to clean some more and put reminders to do some more cleaning and laundry and all these things, and, stuff like that. So they can interfere with these things. They can interfere with these things. So, because our brain focuses, and the daily activities are super intense, super concentrated, we're super dedicated or in it. Look at that dragon. Nobody's born a dragon. Anyways, and those activities can take hours and hours a day. And for example, when I work out, and I've been starting my fitness journey ever since I crossed Canada, coast to coast in 2017. Before that time, I was just coming out of my depression, I was depressed, I was suicidal. I moved before, 2 years before, something like that, a year before. And in 2017, in August and September, I went in August to BC, British Columbia, and BC, British Columbia, and BC, British Columbia, in BC, British Columbia. In BC, British Columbia. So, and then in September 2017, I went to Halifax, Nova Scotia, Halifax, by train, and then went by bus. First in August, went by bus. 3.5 days it took from Montreal to Vancouver. I still got the tickets. I'm auctioning them for $1 million. And then I came back and with my anonymous friend and went to Halifax. And that event just changed my whole life. I was depressed, suicidal before that, and that event made me kind of have a realization, and I had an awakening. I had like an awakening. I said so many things to do, to see, here across the True North, Strong and Free, True North, Strong and Free, the 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 True North, Strong and Free. And I said so many things to do, to see, to do, and to see, to do. And I started coming out of my depression. I started coming out of my depression. Well, actually, I came out. I was no longer depressed when I started the trip. Kind of after I crossed Ontario, I started like, wow. And that event, I haven't been depressed nor suicidal ever since. I started working out, so I was also overweight. I lost between 80 and 93 pounds. So I was about 270. No, I was 288. 288, the highest, 288 point something and a half, 288 pounds though, at one point, yeah. So I lost between 80 pounds and 93. So I keep around 205 now, between 190 and 210. I vary now between those, always in the past years, but I lost a lot of weight. So I lost a lot, between 80 pounds and 93 pounds. And sometimes I put a few pounds, then I drop them, and I kind of stay around the 200 range, or 93 kilos. If I put it into kilos, it's 93 kilos, 93, which is significant for if you want to be Thelemite like me. Thelemite. But if you're a Thelemite, and I'm trying to be, bury me with Papa Crowley in Hampton, New Jersey, and a third of me on the City of the Pyramids, and a third of me City of the Pyramids, and another third of me at the back of the Montreal Belvedere, Conjurenac Belvedere there. And thank you, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and grocery store clerks, and all involved in the production, distribution of food. See, now it's going up. We're ascending the mountain complex, the mountain system known as Mount Royal by Westmount. It has three peaks. Mount Royal proper. So it's Mount Royal. The three-peak mountain system is called Mount Royal on the island, because I live in Montreal. Is a island metropolis. Is an island metropolis of 2.5 million people. So we gotta go on that. So that's why we gotta do a little bit of love, and that's what I gotta get doing on the love side. So anyways, it's an island, Montreal, and now we're ascending up on the mountain, so that's what I'm doing, the ascension on the mountain now, to go all the way to my second home, Montreal, the Belvedere Conjurenac, that's where we're trying to head, and that's where we're gonna try to go with, and So I try to see if it's not gonna rain, and so we're gonna go get it on the do. And see, you can see the river. See, kind of see the river there by the side. Although the river is far away, you know, the river is far away with that, and the side is from here. The river is far away, so the river surrounds Hawk Island, Montreal. Hawk Island, Montreal. The river surrounds Hawk Island, Montreal. So the river surrounds Hawk Island, Montreal. Big island, big city, metropolis, second most populated in Canada, 7th or 8th in the North American complex, or the North American civilizational complex. Yeah, see, this is an ASPE thing. It's an ASPE things, focusing on the detail of whatever that number is, and I guess it's classification, quantification, classification, and whatever have you with that. And that's what we're gonna get doing with the XYZ. So we're gonna get doing on the love, you know. So it's love is also action, not just blah blah blah. So yeah, I love double trouble for me, and butchers, bakers, nurses, firefighters, those flipping some burgers, hamburgers in the fast food, those in the daycares who change some diapers, those in the daycares who change some diapers, and the bus drivers, the plumbers, the electricians. Hey, I'm not gonna forget the construction workers, because you know I got a little bit of that fetish for that crane, and I don't know if that's 3G, 4G, 5G. And see how my brain now functions. Since geopolitics is my special interest, also known as obsessive interest, my brain now focuses, and I put the telecommunication companies, or specifically those towers and all the towers across Quebec, Canada, USA, in a geopolitical perspective, in a geopolitical perspective. So I'm meditating about the sensitivities to our national security, and of course there has been infiltration, and we have it on the go. So that's how we gotta get doing with that, and we have it on the go with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with the love, you know. It's just gotta get doing with that, you know. Just like that. All curses bounce off of me like pyramids, you know. All curses bounce off of me like dust from the pyramids, you know. All curses bounce off of me, you know, like the dust off of pyramids, you know. All curses bounce off of me, like, let them bounce off of me like the dust off the pyramids. Big pyramids, the triple complex in Giza, where I was roaming in past life. See, I don't know how visible it is, but you can see part of the river, part of another mountain complex, and I'm pointing the finger south. I'm going east, that's north, and I'm coming from the west. So when I go to my second home, the mountain, Mount Royal, I'm going east. When I come back, I'm going west. So back to what I was saying, of course, is that my special interest is geopolitics. And I do take great pride in my work as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. So I take great pride in my work as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. And I take great pride in my work as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, because it's important to note and make a reference and a point of interjection that I have predicted what's happening now. I have predicted what's happening now back in 2019, October, November 2019 to be precise, by my anonymous friend in the house. I could split it 50-50. By my anonymous friend in the house, I could split it 50-50. By my anonymous friend in the house, I could split it 50-50. And that's what it is with that. And that's how we gotta go, you know. So it's something which we gotta get doing, you know. So something which we gotta be mindful about. So I have predicted what's happening now back in 2019 in October, November, and consequently my prediction came in a general manner true. So I have also produced a workout training program system which requires no equipment, and which is, well, simple, and the simplicity is that it requires no equipment, but I created it, made a design to go hand in hand with the workout program system and the workout training system, which I have created back in 2019. And of course I have been in a kind of a World War III type of scenario. World War III type of scenario ever since that imposition, ever since 2019. And I've been, of course, in that mode, in a mode, of course, in a mode of a World War III scenario, so ever since 2019. So ever since that period, and gotta love a little bit of red, and Aspie, I love red. RED is my favorite color, and that's so we gotta get doing with that. So I say my auntie, or whatever, because I relate to fellow people who across North America as my fellow citizens, and that's so we gotta get doing with that, and that's so we gotta get an interjection. So back in 2019, I predicted an international conflagration. So having predicted the international conflagration, I have been in that type of World War III type of being, type of mode, And I, of course, we gotta get it on the do, so that's what we gotta get doing, So we gotta get doing on that, So I have a fetish for cranes, That's all we gotta get doing with that. I have a fetish for cranes. I just gotta focus a little bit on the crane, and now I'm asking questions. How much does it weigh? How much does it go up? How much does it quantify to? And this house could be split exactly 50-50 with me and my anonymous friend. Right, 50-50 with that, and see the house there is for sale. So give a call, split it 50-50. Let's go, Beyonce, and Bill Gates, and Oprah, millionaires, billionaires, finance also the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, those in the public workers, those in the public workers, of course, public workers who change the aqueducts, get the garbage. That's what we gotta get doing, because they need a little bit of XYZ, and they need a bit of financing, and I call for the financing of the public workers. They call for the public workers to give a little bit of charity from the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, to give a little bit of tickets to the public workers of the North American Collective, those who pick up the garbage, the recycling, the firefighters, those who pick up the recycling, the garbage, the recycling. I got 3 services in my neighborhood: garbage collection, compost, of which I worked a few years ago, and recycling. So of course, I'm recycling. So it is. So please, Wall Street as well. Finance them a massage therapy session. I wish I could afford a massage therapy session. I'm gonna take a bath tomorrow, a long one, because I'm sore. I worked out yesterday more than 5, and the day before, Wednesday, more than 4, and then more than 3. So now I'm already on a few hours with that, and more hours on the few hours, and it adds up to more than. I try to average 20, minimum 20 per week. The week of the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom commences, starts Sunday, after sunset when the Sabbath ends, and of course it lasts until Friday midnight. So I try to average 20 hours per week of marching. So that averages to about a minimum, about 4 hours daily, Monday to Friday if you take. So that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta be on that interjection. So sometimes which we gotta get doing, we gotta get on the turn your head left or right. Left or right. So we gotta get doing on the love, So back to what I was saying about the geopolitics is that I take great pride in my geopolitical work. And of course, parallel to geopolitics is also sports and fitness and rock and roll. So that's my holy trinity, and I do rock and roll, French, English, write rock and roll songs, French and English on the daily, and That's what I do, you know. Write rock and roll songs on the daily, French and English, and that's what I do, and that's what I do with that. So something which I gotta be thinking about, doing about, loving about. Butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters. LOV. Butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters. LOV. Butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters. LOV. Butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters. LOV, you know. I gotta send some love to the truckers on the road. Truckers. Somebody gotta sing some of that rock and roll for the boys and girls in blue. Ain't nobody perfect. That includes me and you, and you know. I'm gonna sing also for my brothers and sisters who did their second chances, third chances, and did their criminal rehabilitation, because I'm asking for the implementation of the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act. Oh, my Publik King, the sun burst into the clouds. Please, I need some sunlight for the king. My Publik King, the sun, that's the one. And who did their North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act. I called him for that. I started working on that theoretical paper about 2017. After I came out of my depression, I did a lot of work even before, because I have writings predating, but even journals about events in my life. But my personal memories is blackout, amnesia. Sometimes memory comes back, but maybe COVID caused it, because I had COVID. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. COVID was like death, pestilence, and disease. I know when I say it was like death, pestilence, and disease, on my enemies, please. I know it sounds like a hardcore rock and roll trash death metal, something my favorite rock and roll band, not that well known, but it's a good band. They sing in English, but they're from Italy originally. Death SS. So they're a band from Italy, but they sing in English. Very good songs. Well, you gotta like rock and roll. If you don't like rock and roll, you're not gonna like it. If you like rock and roll, sometimes on the more, more metal a bit, more rock and roll, more metal, more metal, yeah, more than contrasting to classic rock or whatever. So it's more on the metal rock, even hardcore metal rock, or hardcore rock, hardcore metal, even trash metal a bit, some of the songs, but not overall. So they mixed the several rock genres. Death, SS, DE, like death, 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 and SS. SS for silent strength, I guess. Silent strength. They're a rock and roll metal band from Italy. They sing some Thelema related iconography and occult symbolism and mystic meanings and in it. I just gonna admire a little bit of those trees, how big they are, how small I am compared to those trees. I see a little bit of breeze in them, so I always gotta be on that meditation. And here I gotta turn my head left and right, if I cross the street, because you never know, people sometimes the brakes malfunction. Citizen driver presses the accelerator. Those are the possibilities in the public realm. So when I'm in the public, I have myself added responsibilities, duties, and obligation. And this house, I don't know if it's for sale, but I also can split it with my anonymous friend. I also can split it with my anonymous friend. That's what we gotta do. So we gotta keep rolling, and one step in front of the other. I always encourage people for fitness and fitness activity, although financially stressed. I gotta be grateful I got those chocolates which maybe 2 are gonna be before midnight and after midnight when the Sabbath begins. Sabbath starts at midnight, ends Sunday after sunset. Sabbath of the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom. And tomorrow I'm just gonna rest, meditate, take a bath and do a little bit of masturbation, and watch some Netflix. Finish watching Umbrella Academy. Gotta finish watching season 3 and season 4 because I watched season 1 and season 2. So if you want to know what Rainbow Dragon, no need to spy on me. Secret Services of Russia don't swim over the Atlantic, and Secret Services of China no need to swim across the Pacific. So back to my geopolitical analysis of 2019. So I had concluded, based on several layers and parameters of analysis, mainly the fact that humanity was, of course, on the verge, and in the coming 7 years, I predicted an international conflagration. I predicted an international conflagration in 2019. In World War III, an international conflagration coming in the coming septennium, 7 years, as I'm calling for the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, septennium now. So meaning from October, November 2019, the timeline was October, November 2026. So in the coming 7 years. So it seems that it started, I guess, with the Russia-Ukraine, furthermore Israel-Hamas, Israel the Arab world, and possibility on the horizon, the third major one, to be China and Taiwan, because conclusively, I had concluded that due to the fact that many civilizations, nation states did not fully resolve their conflicts dating from the 20th century, that these conflicts are going to restart again. That these conflicts are going to restart again. So that was the main, one of the top main motives and reasons why I came to that conclusion, was that due to the fact that many civilizational geo complexes and geo regions, regional, see, now you can see the river, that's south, see the river. That's true. Anyways, so back to what I was saying is, of course, that I hadn't concluded that. So that was the main conclusion. But I had a deep underlining analysis, which was more analytical, academic, intellectual in nature. But the point being was that the conclusion was, of course, that I had, of course, done that, and that's what we're gonna get doing on the dumb side of things, and so they're gonna go on the doing on the side. So that's why they're gonna go doing with that, and that's why they're gonna go on the. That's why they're gonna go do it on that. So that's why they're gonna go on the. So that's why we're gonna go do it on the love side of things, you know. And we're gonna go to do some of that loving, and that's how we gotta get. But nonetheless, it's on the parallel to what I had concluded and predicted in a general overall manner, because my prediction was based on several deep layers of complex geopolitical analysis, but the main one of the most important factors to taken into consideration was the fact that humanity, places around the world, geopolitical regions, civilizations, nation states, did not fully resolve their conflicts from the 20th century, especially during the Cold War period. And Russia-Ukraine, that is a conflict which of course dates from that period, you know, from that period. from that period of time. So that is what's dates from that period of time. So that's what it is. I understand. So that was my conclusion. That we are headed towards an international conflagration of World War III. Based on several levels of analysis, but that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's what I have concluded. And generally, that's what has been happening, because Ukraine-Russia crisis, war, is an unresolved conflict from the 20th century. Israel, Hamas, the organization was founded in the 1980s, during the Cold War period. Taiwan, known as the Republic of China and the People's Republic of China, is another conflict on the horizon, potential conflict on the horizon, which did not have a conclusion yet. It's not over. The stalemate, the geopolitical crisis. Watch the car. Okay. You're welcome. I had to look out for my fellow citizens, because here, you gotta be careful, my dears. Here we cross, And here we got the Good Samaritan law. So in that situation, a Quebecer, by an old school, and sometimes it takes that old school with a new school, of course, that's the Good Samaritan law. The Good Samaritan law. The Good Samaritan law says that you have to save a life if you can interfere. Like, for that case, my fellow citizen, or citizen, or even non-citizens, all who come to join us here in Quebec, Canada, the North American Collective, we have to make an effort, to welcome them as our brothers and sisters. And that's the Good Samaritan law. Basically states that you have to, if there's a threat to life, kind of life and death, if you want, or threat to life, like that situation, which of course there was, because here you don't have the angle to see from there to enter, so you gotta situate that. And so I said, watch the car and come fast, That's just hawk, H-A-W-K. So the conflict in Taiwan and China is a possibility on the horizon to start soon. When I get back home, it's possible that China invades Taiwan. Now, I don't think that China will invade Taiwan in April, but there might be a possibility that is, of course, an invasion of Taiwan on the 4th of May next month, on the 4th of May, between the 3rd and the 5th of May. That is what it is. That is what it is. And that's what we gotta get doing with that. And that's what we gotta doing on the XYZ. So basically, it's a possibility on the horizon, and it's possible. And again, for my anonymous friend and me, this house we could split 50-50. So you can give a call. Beyonce, Oprah, Granddaddy Trump. I would have not voted for Trump. I am challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border. I have been ever since 2018. That's when I got into politics, really. I was out of politics, but when Trump did the mistake to impose 10% tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel, just like the mistake to tariff Canada on goods, certain goods, and high tariffs, 25% on others, that's a no-no. That's not the way to invite us. Invite us with some bacon at the pies, with some apple pie bacon, cherry pie bacon, all sorts of beef, bacon pie bacon, apple pie bacon, orange pie bacon, all sorts of pie bacon, all sorts of pie bacon. And so we gotta get invitations for that. All sorts of pie bakings. Let's see, so this area is closed from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Well, 12 a.m. is decent, I guess. 12 a.m. is decent. That's what we gotta get doing on the go with that. That's what we gotta get doing on the love, you know. So something which we gotta get doing, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. Here you can see the Montreal. So again, it's possible that I get back home and I see an invasion or a public financial collapse on the horizon, but I predicted what's happening now. You see there's mountain. It shows the indication, the mountain, Place Ville Marie, and there's the downtown core area, but my pyramid is just there in the corner, my favorite skyscraper, which is that pyramid. That is my favorite skyscraper there. It's not that visible, but it's slightly visible, but that is just the downtown Montreal. Hawk Island, Montreal, H-A-W-K, hawk like my totem bird. That's Montreal, H-A-W-K, Hawk Island downtown. My city in another life, in this life. And here you have indications of mountains. See, Red Mountain Rouge is red for French, and you got the mountains and all other things which we got, you know, the bridges, and whatever the case may be, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get on that XYZ, and that's how we gotta get on that communications. And see, you got part of the river there. Gotta get that stingray, and I want to build a complex for total security, surveillance, and defense. SSD principle, Dragon Army. SSD principle, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, Canada, United States fused. SSD, Canada, United States fused, and I will to do a great census. That's the Champlain Bridge. A great census. We got to do a great census of the North American population and get a public-private partnership and get that chips and get it for the DRT, the debt refusion treaty. That's the Green Mountain. So there's several mountains which, of course, get on that complexity with that, and that's how we got to get doing on the love. You know, you got bridges built there, and you got Mount Johnson, and you got Westmont, and you got City of Verdun, and that's how you got Nuns Island. So you got on the island here where the sun is, let's go sun, give me some sun. And there's the flock of hawks. Flock of hawks. That's the good omen. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's, give me some 7. That's my 7 hawks. That's a good omen for me, you know. You see the hawks? That's the hawk family. Where are my hawk? H-A-W-K, hawk-headed hawks. That's the gang. H-A-W-K, my totem bird, you know. You can see how they fly, see? H-A-W-K. By the way they fly, you recognize them how they fly. They don't flap their wings much, and they're already far away. So those are hawks you just saw, so that's a good omen. So Dragon Army, hawk for the sky, and hawk for the sky, that's what it is. And hawk for the sky, we gotta get it. Hawk for the sky, and that's what we gotta get doing on that, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. So we gotta get doing on that H-A-W-K, and that's what we gotta get doing on the love side of things, and we gotta get on that generations, and we gotta get on the Dragon Army, you know, complex, and that's what we gotta get doing for the love, and we gotta get on that situational complex to get on that XYZ, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get doing on the XYZ, you know. Here you see the rocks, see how the rocks formation is, and that's how we gotta do it on that hawk. See here, we're in Westmont, and that's what I gotta get doing on the love, you know. Whatever the case may be, you know, we gotta get positive about the situation in many ways, that there are solutions. So what is the solutions which we gotta focus on are, of course, the solutions of which my propositions is, of course, the Dragon Army formulation, the PPP, public-private partnership, of course, the CIT, citizen integration tree, and the DRT, debt refusion tree, and of course the democratic fusion tree for the creation of the universal exchange. That's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how I gotta get doing as soon as possible, as we are on the verge of a public financial collapse. And again, I'm going to now discuss the DRT, but again, I want to say gratitude, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and that's how we're going to get doing with that. And this one I can also split 50-50 with my anonymous friend. Let's go. My brother Scorpio, Bill Gates, and Bill Gates calling for the public-private partnership, and that's how we got to get doing with that, and that's how we got to get on that interjection for the sides, and that's how we got to get doing for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers, the grocery store clerks. The king is absent. It's time for the Republic, and That's how we gotta get on the left side of things as we generate a new collective North American civilizational complex, and we get that public-private partnership in order to create what I call the UE, the University Exchange. And gotta love me a little bit of the blue flowers, and of course we gotta get it on the XYZ. And I just love yellow flowers. Yellow flowers, you gotta go no on the yellow flowers with that, and that's how we gotta get doing for the love. You know, sometimes we just gotta get that love in action and make it on the parallels, and gotta get it on the do. And so we gotta keep on the lions. The lions, look at those double lions. Lion and lioness, I guess, you know, gotta get 50-50 sometimes. And that's how we gotta get on the transmission. Here we're on the Summit Road, on Summit Circle, and here we got a beautiful, which I love to promote in many ways. There's the bird sanctuary. Bird sanctuary, and you saw that the hawks were kind of going above it. So here is supposed to have species of birds, lots of birds. If you're interested, and go check it out. It's springtime now, so now it's getting hotter, but there's a bird sanctuary, and you have the information in both English and French there. There's a big bird sanctuary here in Westmount. So back to what I was saying is, of course, that I predicted what's happening now back in 2019, for I created, in consequence, a workout training program system to go hand in hand with my prediction, of which I have performed more than 372. Performed more than 372 sessions of my own created workout training program system. And now I'm working out, training, stretching, doing a little bit of dance, marching dance, but I think I should restart doing it in April, May, and do some more throwback a little bit, because I created it in 2019 when I predicted that humanity is set towards an international conflagration. And I guess you have to note, because let's say real geopolitics. China, between February 2020 and November last year, so almost 5 years, take a few months off, about 5 months off, so almost 5 years, 4 years and 7 months, China built and increased their nuclear arsenal by about 40 plus percent, maybe even half of the percentile. Good for you. Workout, train, exercise is good. I love seeing people working out, training, exercise, fitness, sports. Dancing is my favorite sport, but fitness and sports and physical activity is my special interest also, aka obsessive interest, parallel to geopolitics and rock and roll. So you wonder geopolitically that how come China increased their arsenal, ICBM rockets and nuclear arsenal by a lot, not just by 5-10%. By supposedly went from around 420, so maybe now they have more than 600, according to NATO estimates. So you notice, but it took them to build a little bit more than 400. It took them 5 decades, 50 years, from 1970, about 1960s, till from the 1960s to 2020. So for more than 50 years, it took them to build 400. And now in just some little time, in less than 5 years, they mass invested in building a mass center, supposedly 11 times bigger than the Pentagon, 11 times bigger than the Pentagon, 11 times bigger than the Pentagon, to build 11 times bigger than the Pentagon, 11 times bigger than the Pentagon, 11 times bigger than the Pentagon. A massive military structure. A military structure for military purposes. So you wonder, how come? Like, what's the deal, you know? How come? But that's geopolitically, you say that there's a war preparation, and I gotta watch the steps here. So there's a war preparation, and of course, to note geopolitically, there increased solidification of relations with Russia, the Russia-Chinese, the Sino-Russian strengthening of political, economic, financial alliance. The political financial alliance, strengthening of the political, military, political, financial alliance of China and Russia. So there. What is that sound? So the solidification, increased cooperation and strengthening of their bilateral relations. Bilateral. Us, Quebecers, Canadians, our main geopolitical interest is to have the best, most cordial relations, military, political, at all levels. Military, political, at all levels, with the USA. So our main geopolitical, as Quebecers, Canadians, our main primary number one geopolitical interest is to have the best military, security, business, financial, cultural, commercial, otherwise, relations with the USA, and the USA vice versa. So that has to be a yes. That is a constant geopolitical fact. Just geopolitically, not speaking about other things between Canada and the United States, and it has to be vice versa. That is the primary, that our leaders may have to be put into perspective. And again, Granddaddy Trump, I would have voted for Biden. I would have voted for Kamala Harris or Biden. And it's Dragon versus Trump. We're going to fight on the Canadian-US border. And we're going to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome. We used to be known as the Mercedes-Benz, where my 49ers lost to the Ravens. One of my top five Super Bowls is actually known as the Harbaugh Ball, aka Blackout Ball. Blackout Ball, also known as the Harbaugh Ball. Harbaugh Ball, aka Blackout Ball. That's one of my favorite Super Bowls. And of course, my 49ers lost by 3 points. Not a lot, but they still lost against the Ravens, Baltimore, in a few years back. I believe 2013. Although my memory blacks out, but I saw it afterwards. I saw it a few times, actually. It was a few times. And I don't know, some people say it was a conspiracy, that it was a power outage. Half of the, but that's interesting, because half of the power, half exactly, seems like half was just totally loss of power, like totally a blackout. It was totally a blackout, totally like dark, pitch black, blackout. So that was interesting. Now, I gotta say, it was interesting, and I am not a big fan of conspiracy theories. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I do know that conspiracies happen, like the assassination of Caesars, and other conspiracies happen with that, but of course, those are the things which I'm not gonna go into, although I do not believe it that for a fact to be, but that's how we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get doing on the love, my fellow cousins there doing a little bit of jogging, which puts me a smile on the face, so that's how we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get doing on the setting though, so gotta get doing for the love, That's what I gotta get doing, and my fellow cousins there. My fellow cousins getting some fitness. My family here, we gotta get it for the love. And here we got the Canadian Armed Forces. Canadian Armed Forces, and gotta paint some red. I gotta give them some salutations, and of course we gotta get that DRT, that refusion theory, and the Dragon Army. And here we gotta get doing on the DRT, and we gotta put it put it on the salutations for my fellow brothers and sisters who wear a uniform. But shaving your head and putting on a uniform doesn't make anybody entitled to serve for the cause of freedom, and freedom gotta be ensured in the Dragon Army. Public private partnership. My protocols for SSD, security service best, but I send love and hugs and to all armed forces, of Canada and United States, because I served in the United States military I served in the United States military. I did serve in the United States military twice in past life. In 2 different wars, the same U.S. Army, twice in a past life, in the 2 different wars. 2 different wars. Once I was born a woman post 1776 in the United States, and many past lives, many incarnations as a priestess. I still believe on the goddess. Goddess saved me from COVID, and I will to build a forgotten goddess temple, the forgotten goddess temple. These we need 11 times bigger, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, for defense all across Canada, United States joint. The Dragonomy complex for SSD complex, of which my theoretical propositions and analysis date back to years and years and years. And I have a reference from high school whence I will to go to the Kingston Military Academy, whence I will to go to the Kingston Military Academy, but I don't remember my life that far back. My memories black out. 10, 11 years, and I remember moving from somewhere over there in Côte d'Ivoire in a moldy underground place. And sometimes memory comes back with time, but sometimes it's or trauma. Paradoxically, a trauma causes RA, retrograde amnesia, memory loss, and another trauma can bring memories, flashes back. I don't know if COVID, I had COVID, I survived it in 2020. I was really sick. I say I died during COVID, nothing that I will to go back to, but I'm being reborn every day, carpe diem it every day, and friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance to our family, and friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance to our family. You know, friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance to our family. Friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance to our family. And that's how we gotta get doing with that for my fellow citizens, my brothers and cousins, and that's how we gotta get doing on the love. You know, so it's something which we gotta be loving. You know. So something which we gotta be transmissive of, and wearing red, my favorite color, freely, you know. I'll be seeing people working out, training, exercising, and roaming free, and giving some charity if you're a millionaire. And here you see where we are now. It kind of shows you where we are. It says in French, vous êtes ici, you're here. And now we really got to discuss the DRT, debt fusion theory, since we're here to discuss it. And before I digress, I want to say, of course, salute our brothers and sisters in the uniforms, Quebec, Canada, United States. Finance them a massage therapy session, something good, but we got to go change some daycare diapers in the daycare as well. That will be a new protocol if you want to put on a uniform, because you're going to see who you're fighting and defending. First and foremost is coast to coast, ocean to ocean, the children. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, the children. It's coast to coast, ocean to ocean is the children, you know. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, the children. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean is the children. So the youth, you know, and happy, joyous, and you know, tough times, geopolitical tough times. It's tough times, myself included. I got hell and back scars, and I play that defense. I am hyper vigilant, and I have been in World War III scenario ever since. World War III since 2019, but my theories are for the North American collective. So as much as I know the ideologies of Russia, China, and other countries or geopolitical regions or civilization, first and foremost, my theories and protocols are for the North American collective, for the North American civilizational complex, because I am a Quebecer, Canadian, North American. Although I believe in past life reincarnations, I am fundamentally a North American. A North American who loves little yellow flowers, and got a tiny dick, general limb dick. I'm androgynous, pansexual. Call me the greatest cuckold in the universe. Call me the greatest cuckold in the universe. Greatest cuckold in the universe. So that's how I gotta be doing. Salutations and painting some red, you know. Whatever the case may be, Jen, we're gonna do some cadence, and that's worth fighting for and defending, you know. Couples holding hands, and gonna get my main out now and discuss the DRT. And that's what we're gonna go doing with that, you know. That's how we gotta get doing, you know. Gotta get on that love, man. They holding hands, and you know, that's what we gotta get, you know. That's worth fighting for. Those couple there holding hands, you know. We'll just pass. That's also worth being armed and carrying a weapon for, you know, somebody making love, holding hands and kissing in the free world is not all about Wall Street. And you know, that's what I would put in uniform and get that defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, you know. And I see that makes, and I would, if there's an invasion, you know, I would definitely go join, but only to defend, you know. Quebecers, Canadians, and brothers and sisters in the South, there's an invasion for Russia, from Russia or China, I would backpack it up as I'm backpacking now, put an extra pair of shoes, some underwear, some socks, some clothing, and some food and water, and start running towards the border. Start running towards the border. Start running towards the border, you know. Gotta get rid of the border purpose anymore, and we need to do a census. We need to do a common passport and fuse in a public-private partnership, democratic, Republican way, centrist way, finance, mass financing of healthcare, and mass implementing my DRT theory. The debt refusion theory is not the way to invite us with bullying and tariffs. Let's fight on the Canadian-US border, me and you, Donald Trump, and we're gonna build the North American people's Imperial Coliseum to be 11 times greater than 11 times bigger, the greatest, most majestic, for 24/7 sportis in perpetuitis, for 24/7 sportis in perpetuitis, for 24/7 sportis in perpetuitis, sports in perpetuitis, dancing, fitness, boxing, gridiron, North American football, soccer, gymnastics, all sports and fitness 24/7. On the Canadian-US border, 50-50, half-half. You make it exactly 50-50, half-half on the Canadian-US border, and be made of Canadian and United States joint, Canadian aluminum and steel and cement and rocks, and powered by Hydro-Quebec and part of the US, and be 11 times bigger than the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and to have sports events 24/7, high school, universities, high schools, and mass finance parallel to it. Forgotten goddess, GODDSS. Forgotten goddess temple. The forgotten goddess. GODDSS, goddess temple, and goddess temple. Goddess. I created my surviving to the GODDSS, parallel to the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and the House of the Dragon, pyramid, scarlet, crimson and scarlet are shades of red. The pyramid, you know. Pyramid, scarlet, shades of red. Pyramid. There's still some snow. What? There's still some snow. What? There's still some snow. April 18th. The pyramid, House of the Dragon, to be scarlet, crimson, scarlet, red. Crimson and scarlet are shades of red, and build the fourth building, the Rainbow People's Palace, for my fellow LGBTQ community and neurodivergent community. Now I gotta discuss the DRT, debt refusion theory. The DRT, debt refusion theory, DRT, is the only solution, and without implementation of my DRT theory, we're going to be able to create the universal exchanger. The universal exchanger. And we are on the verge of a public financial catastrophe, a public financial collapse. So we have to actually implement my DRT theory. So I'm going to now discuss the DRT theory, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the universal exchanger. So, forget that I'm androgynous. Forget that I am pansexual, androgynous, 50-50, pansexual, androgynous, and forget kind of those aspects of my personality and my being, and that I got scars. Well, kind of Asperger's is important, you know. Asperger's is important. So being an Aspie, being the curse of Asperger's has made me struggle, and here I am, suffered, struggled, and struggled. So having struggled, having suffered, having struggled, you know. Having suffered. having suffered, having struggled, having struggled, and that's what it is with that. And having struggled, having suffered, of course, is part of the Asperger, right? The curse of Asperger's now gives a blessing, and that blessing comes in the form of the debt refusion theory for the North American Collective, because I call for the implementation to be implemented, of course, across the North American Collective, across the North American Collective, across the North American Collective, and that's what we gotta be doing on the North American Collective. So we're gonna take all the public and the private, and now I gotta make you the statement and clarify my position on my statement, which of course states, and it's a belief. It's not just a statement out of a theory, but it's actually a mathematical financial fact that we are on the verge of a public financial collapse. Why do I make that statement? So I'm making that statement in such a way as, of course, due to the fact that we paid on the public debt, we paid 46.5 billion in interest. 46.5 billion in interest. 46.5 billion in interest. 46.5 billion in interest. Last year, the interest only on the public debt of Canada was 46.5 billion. Has to be recycled. 46.5 billion. A billion has not 7 or 8 zeros, has 9 zeros. So that is 46,000 million. In 2020, 2021, the number was 20.3. 20.3 was also very big. That's 20,000 million. Just the public interest paid on the public debt. So you realize that the number, if you compute the number mathematically from 20.3 to 46.5, you realize that it's more than double, because 20.3 double is 40.6. So the number was 46.5. And you see those benches, I would love to paint them and paint them green or red and blue. Just bring me the tools and I'll do the volunteering. And I've been advocating for years, and I've been doing volunteering here, cleaning deep in the forest for environmental purposes and motives, because I'm consciously for the environment, environmentally conscious. But then again, it takes individual action as well as the collective. It takes individual action as well as collective. It takes individual action as also collective. And that says in French, let's see what that says. Fragile zone. So you got to respect it, Fragile zone, because we're trying to do the plantation here. So just careful and be mindful. I know it's just in French, and bring me the translations and I'll make the translation. And I'm still waiting to get a little bit of contact with that, and that's what we gotta get doing, So it's nature here, and whatever the case may be, we gotta do on the XYZ, and that's what we gotta do on the love, So that's how we gotta do it on the situational side of things, which I gotta get on that doing, So that's how we gotta get doing with XYZ. And takes action, takes brains and muscle, and that's what they gotta get doing, So back to what I was saying, of course, there's on the horizon, there's a potential public financial collapse, because fundamentally, and yes, due to COVID, which I had and survived it, 2020. So COVID made it that we had to implement programs, which those programs, of course, were made for sustaining the population for an emergency, for a crisis situation, right? And mostly due to COVID, but not only due to COVID, but mostly not only due to COVID, mostly not only due to COVID, mostly not only due to COVID. So mostly not only due to COVID, 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 right? Mostly not only due to COVID. So of course we had to do those programs and implement, of course, the salvaging of the population in case and due to that fact. So the number is enormous, and of course our GDP didn't double. Therein lies the fundamental problem, in essence. So in essence, that is the casus belli, if you will. So since our GDP didn't double, and it takes for the economy more than decades, to double. More than decades. It took the economy of Canada to double decades. Very small populated, 2-3 million population, or certain cases it can double in 5 years. But actually the debt, just the interest paid on the public debt doubled in 3 years, right? From 2020, 2021 to 2024, 2025. So that is, of course, what has happened. So it's not sustainable, so it's not sustainable. That's what it is with that. So it's not sustainable. Railroad conductors, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, gotta get it on the go. So here I got some of that. Horses of the police here. Horses of the police. I served in a past life in the RCMP before it was known as the RCMP, in the RCMP before it was known as the RCMP. But somebody got to sing for the boys and girls in blue, as much as I also sing for my brothers and sisters who do their second chances and their rehabilitation and don't lose their freedom, And freedom is new, Freedom got to be insured, and now we're in a tough geopolitical place, and we got to insure it here in the North American Collective, and we have to do the emergency, the DRT, because it's an emergency on the XYZ and on the XYZ, and that's what we got to get doing with that. So we got to get doing on the XYZ, So we got to get doing on the love, So we gotta get doing, to get me on the love side of things. So we gotta get doing on the doing, Takes a little bit of doing, a little bit of that good rock and roll with that. So something which we gotta be mindful of now, and I meditate on those towers. Is that also? I think those small ones are 4G, 5G. Although I see blurred, but. See, now my head, mental, psychic capabilities and abilities are focusing on a geopolitical perspective, and that we are potentially open for sabotage and espionage, So we are in a tough position, We got to be on the tough position for the coming years. We got to implement my DRT theories to get it on the go for that. So that's what we gotta get doing for the love, So we gotta get it on the DRT, back to the DRT, So again, it's just the parallel of an individual. See, when I come here during the storms, and the winter, there's not a lot of people. The parking lot is empty. So that's what I gotta get doing with that. The parking lot is empty, so that's what they do on the go, So that's what it is on the goalpost of the things, So that's how we gotta get it doing, and that's how we gotta get on the love side, So something which we gotta get on the transmission side, but in theory, of course, all byway communications byway of can be on the stingrays, on the stingrays with that, and that's what we gotta get doing on the interception, and we gotta get on the for security gotta be on the prudent side of things, and that's how we gotta get. We have to have more security, We have to do a census of the population, because it requires now where we are with the North American geopolitical complexities of today. We gotta be on the to do it on the love side of things, and we gotta think in the geopolitical era of today. The world has changed, We got trade war, but we're gonna find a solution to the trade war with that, and trade war with that on the go, and we gotta get it on the love, So that's what we gotta get doing on the love, So it is with that. So So we gotta get on the love side of things, you know. So we gotta get close to the mountain. Here we are on the love side of things, you know. And I recommend people stay on the main roads. It's like the majority of the population that not venture deep in the forest, because there's added risk if you go in this side. But this is my second home, so I know to get it on the second home, and that's what we gotta get right here. Spring is coming. See, in my videos in the past, when I come, sometimes I come alone, like almost solo, and it's like winter and snow. Now there's more people because it's spring, you know. So that's what we gotta go doing on the love side of things. So we gotta go on the love, you know. So we gotta get doing for the love birds. And the snow is almost gone, and we gotta get doing on the side of the things which we gotta do here. So back to the DRT, the debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE. We gotta, of course, is a potential public financial collapse on the horizon. The problem is that on the horizon there's a potential for a public financial collapse. There's a potential for a public financial collapse. On the horizon, there's a possibility for a public financial collapse. For a public financial collapse. For a public financial collapse. Due to the fact that the interest payments have more than doubled. From 20.3 billion in 2020-2021 to 46.5. Because 20.3 double is 40.6. To 46.5. 46.5, 46.5. So just like the individual principle in mathematics, a citizen whose interest doubles, more than doubles, let's say from 156 double is 333. So if it doubles, which is more than double actually, 156 double is 312. If it goes from 100, let's say the interest citizen XXYZ, I don't have credit cards myself, I have a credit line. So let's say from $156 it goes to 333, which is more than double 156, because 156 that was 312. So that individual citizen has to cut and reduce the spending, the budget. There's just no way. How many salaries have doubled? Some have increased by 5%, some have increased by 10, some by 15. Not a lot of have doubled. Not a lot. I don't know many. Some people have made some wealth, some rags to riches. Yeah, it happened in the past 3 years. Myself, I'm financially stressed, but open for business 24/7. My rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, got food and coffee, and I was able to afford less than $5. All that chocolate you saw at the beginning of the video cost me less than $5. Like less than $5. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, So again, just mathematically, there's no way out of this. My DRT theory, debt refusion theory, or something very similar, which resembles my debt refusion theory. It has to resemble my DRT, debt refusion theory, at least fundamentally, in essence and in principle, because we are on the verge of a public financial collapse. It could happen Monday, next week after the holidays of the weekend, big long weekend for the holidays. People who celebrate Easter, I celebrate every day since I survived COVID. And Thelema, that Book of the Law, Crowley, Prophet, rock and roll, Prophet. So, sun, moon, stars, LOV with consent, hygiene, blah, blah, blah. And nature, civilization, la la la, pyramids, blah blah blah. But in essence, the point is that one has to reduce the spending, cut the budget. Just the same principle applies for the public financial situation. We're gonna have to reduce the spending. What are we gonna cut? The healthcare, We're gonna cut the police, RCMP, the Mounties. We're gonna cut the sanitation, those picking up the garbage, the compost, the recycling, the prisons. We're gonna have to cut. It's possible in April, before or during times of the new full moon, that on the time of the new full moon, it's possible that is a public financial collapse. There's a it's on the horizon. Close. It's because when I just noticed a few months ago already that the government cut thousands of jobs from Immigration Canada. Thousands of jobs from Immigration Canada. Thousands of jobs from Immigration Canada. Thousands of jobs. Thousands of jobs. Thousands of jobs in Immigration Canada. And if you want to check this, we got to learn French though, but here there's French poetry. See? French poetry speaks about the impression there. So there's poetry in French all around the mountain. So it's like a secret of the mountain, see? But you gotta learn, you gotta know French. If you don't know French, you gotta have to get the translation. But that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with that. Somebody holding hands, that's a little bit of that LOV on that go, you know, so that's how we gotta get doing, you know, so that's how we gotta get on that love side, you know, so something which we gotta be meditating, you know, as we are here on the love side of the line, and so we gotta get doing on the love, you know, so here we gotta go, you know, and we gotta get that doing, you know, and in the wilderness you gotta be careful, stay on the main road, my recommendation, because trees fall. So the DRT, debt refusion tree, is the only solution. There's no other way but the DRT, debt refusion tree, for the creation of the universal exchange, for the creation of the universal exchange. That's just how it is with that. That's just how it is with that. The debt refusion tree. So we're gonna take, again, because we have to reduce, we have to cut the budget. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, and that's what we're going to get doing with that. So we're going to take it through here like this. See, the main road goes like this. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my $10,000 to the RBC. I got a credit line, RBC, and in a parallel life I know everything about science, telecommunications, and ICBM rockets, you know. So basically, of course, we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, my 10,000, your 10,000, and all the public private debt would have converted into XYZ. We're gonna convert all the public and the private debt, and we're gonna get it on the 10,000 on the go, we gotta get it on the XYZ, and gotta get it on the love side of things. So that's what we're gonna get. We're gonna take all the public and the private debt, and we're gonna take it all, $10,000, 10,000, my 10,000, your 10,000, and all the public and the private debt. We're gonna, of course, convert it into US dollars. My 10,000, your 10,000. We're gonna get it coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and we're gonna add it all up, all the public and the private debt, We're gonna take it all, and we're gonna convert it into US dollars. Gonna create it into US dollars. So my $10,000, your $10,000, their $10,000, all $10,000. Whatever the case may be, an individual's, all the public private debt, all of it, we're gonna convert it into US dollars, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that. And so we gotta get doing on the XYZ, you know. So we gotta put it on the go, you know. So all the public private debt, and we gotta get it on the now, and that's what we're gonna get public-private debt, all of it, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. And we're gonna put it all together, convert it with the US dollars, add it with the US public-private debt, because it has to be all, the public and the private debt. Public and the private debt, we're gonna have to take it all and simultaneously implement it. Wide implementation in Canadian, United States public-private debt together, and we're gonna have to do it, all of it together, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. And so we gotta get doing with the love, you know. So it's all the public-private debt together, public-private debt together, converted to US dollars, added with the US dollar, because it requires Canadian financial situation is parallel exactly and similar. It's very similar to the public-private financial situation in the United States of America. So we're gonna have to do it today like that. That's why we're gonna have to do it on the go. We're gonna have to do it on the go. And let me see that XYZ, and we gotta go see it on the love side of things, and we gotta go see it on the love side of things, you know. So that's what we gotta get seeing on the love, you know. So that's what we gotta go doing, you know. So that's what we gotta get on that love, you know. Gotta get doing on the XYZ, and gotta get it on the left side of things, and gotta get doing with that, and take all the public and the private debt, and we're gonna take on the XYZ to do it, and all of it together. We're gonna take all the public and the private debt, we're gonna convert it all into US dollars, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. We have to be doing that because there's a public financial collapse. It's going to happen Monday, Tuesday, this week, and next week. So all the debt, public and private Canadian US debt, add the Canadian public private debt with the US, convert it to US dollars. All that money is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. All that money is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. The initial money supply for a new central bank. The initial money supply for a new central bank. We're going to create a new currency called the UE. With the public private debt and the money in circulation. U dot universal, U dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE. The universal exchange, the universal exchange, the universal exchange, the U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The universal exchange unit is going to have the value of the US dollar. So we're going to create the UE, the universal exchange unit, and of course we're going to create the UE, and that is going to have the value of the US dollar, of the US dollar, of the US dollar, of the United States dollar. So all the public and the private debt is going to be together bundled up. All the public and the private debt, we're going to add it all together, all the public and the private debt. Public private debt together, we're going to add it all up. Sit philosophy. All the public and the private debt, we're going to add it all together. All the public and the private debt, we're going to add it all together. All the public and the private debt, convert it into US dollar. We're going to create the UE, the universal exchange. That's going to be the initial money supply. We're going to create this new currency, the UE. We're going to do a public-private partnership, and we're going to do with all the public institutions and organizations, Canada, United States. It requires even my brothers in Scorpio, Bill Gates of Microsoft, and BlackRock and Blackstone are two different financial institutions. Well, actually, they are private, but it takes private and the public. Central Bank, Federal Reserve, Bank of Canada, create the UE, Universal Exchange Unit. Again, both Canada and the United States, we're on the verge of a public and private financial collapse. Just face it. There's no other solution. Emergency, martial law, Dragon Armies, SSD, security, service, and defense, mobilize 1% of the existing population, those in the security forces, police, and armed forces, and citizens, organizations, institutions, school, Canada, United States joint, and create the UE, Universal Exchange Unit. The Universal Exchange Unit is going to have the value of the US dollar. The UE, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot UE. It could be extended, blah, 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 NATO complex, blah, blah, Canada, United States first, and then it could be extended to Mexico and NATO complex, because most of my theories are North American collective, North American civilizational complex centric, but of course it can include the NATO, or whatever the case may be, but for Canada, United States first. So with that money, we're going to be able to rebuild the infrastructure, rebuild the aqueducts, rebuild the sewers, the aqueducts, rebuild, mass finance the North American Imperial People's Coliseum, the greatest ever, biggest sports complex, fitness arena complex, Coliseum, 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, and of course the Forgotten Goddess Temple. The Forgotten Goddess Temple. Me, I only need a pyramid, scarlet, crimson or scarlet, or shades of red, the red, red. I don't need something big. To have open house, you know, some square feet in there, make it 665 plus something, plus one, or 156, or length, width, rectangular pyramid, whatever the case, pyramid, and you know, there's a little beaver. So all the public-private debt, we're going to convert it into US dollars. See, that's why you don't pollute here, because that's why I do a lot of work, and for years and years and years, this is my second home, and have been doing work because of flora and fauna, and that's how we got to get doing with that. So all the public and the private, debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars, and that's what we're gonna do. So all the public and the private debt, that's gonna be the money in circulation, initial money in circulation, all the public and the private debt. Oh, I think it's the first time I come to the mountain with my new NEU boots, because I'm auctioning the old ones. So all the public-private debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars. All that money, with that money, we're gonna rebuild the infrastructure, the aqueducts, the ports, the airports. We're gonna do a census, Great North American, Canada, United States joint census. We're gonna create a common passport. We're gonna create a pyramids, and we're gonna finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, and mass finance fitness, and mass build to the Coliseum, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that, you know. So it's something which we gotta be doing, you know. So which we gotta get. So see. That's what we gotta get doing, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing for the LOV on the side of things, which we gotta get on the love side, you know. So we're gonna create the Yui. Pyramids. Curses. Like the pyramids. Like the pyramids, man. Just like the pyramids. Just bounce off me. Like dust. Like dust. Like dust. So the DRT. So the debt refusion TV. We're gonna get it for the DRT. Yeah, wait a bit. Anyways, back to the DRT. Dead refusion theory. Dead refusion theory. We're gonna create so the dead refusion theory for the creation of the UE, the universally exchanging it, That's what we're gonna get doing, you know. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt. That's what we're gonna get doing with that, and so we're gonna get doing on the love side of things, you know. It's gonna be crucial. So the DRT dead refusion for the creation of the UE, the universal exchange, of course, create the universal exchange unit, and of course the universal exchange unit. We're gonna do lots of good with that. Recreate, rebuild, infrastructure, mass finance, citizens fitness, mass finance, citizens fitness, mass finance fitness, mass finance fitness, mass finance. Mass finance fitness, mass finance fitness, mass finance people to work out, train, exercise, mass finance fitness, mass finance citizens, and mass finance, of course, people to work out, train, exercise, and that's what it is with that. And mass finance, of course, mass rebuilding of the infrastructure of the hydroelectric dams, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. And so we gotta keep on the rock and roll side here in the wilderness. Gonna switch to that French because we love Privee, and we're gonna go a little bit up and down. Just gonna see a little bit of the city and go up and down. So the DRT debt refusion for the creation of the UE is the only solution. There is no other solution. Pledge your allegiance to our family, the UE. We're on the verge of a public financial collapse, and that's how we're gonna go doing the creation of the universal exchange unit for, of course, rebuilding the infrastructure, mass finance, tourism, also because it is great for mental health, and mass finance, tourism, and mass finance tourism, and mass finance tourist activity, mass finance fitness, mass finance the Coliseum buildings, and the 44 tunnels, the 44 tunnels, of course, mass finance the building of the 44 tunnels, like this one, 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. In case of a thermonuclear war, mass building construction, 44, the number after 43, before 45, and inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex and the Montreal Underground Village. Build, construct 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war, which is a possibility on the horizon. Oh, a little bit of that red, some clearing a bit, and we're gonna go roundabout like this, switch to French and say gratitude, and that's how we're gonna get doing, you know. So that's what we're gonna get doing on the go. So something which we gotta get doing for now, you know. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, and that's what we're gonna take it all the public and the private debt. We're gonna get on the left side of things. So all the public and the private debt, all that debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars, and with that money we're gonna, of course, rebuild the infrastructure of the collective, rebuild the bridges, the tunnels, build those 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war, you know. So there's lots lots of good which we need to do, lots of well doing, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. The DRT has to be implemented for the creation of the UE, the universal exchange. Is something which we're on the verge of a public financial collapse. Eh? So see that beautiful red, beautiful Hawk Island, Montreal, and beautiful Hawk Island, Montreal here. The headquarters of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdoms, and that's how we gotta get doing on the love side of things. And here we gotta be mindful that we are on the verge of a public financial collapse, and gonna show a little bit of that poems, you know. We got a little bit of that poetry, and although we got sides of poems there, see around the bottom. See, there's this, Ami, and la montagne speaks about the mountain, the sun, and the sunset. So, but you gotta know a little bit of French. So, speaking of French, we're gonna switch on that belle province, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and we're gonna get it on that rock and roll, you know. So, that's how we gotta get doing on that, you know. So, it's something which we gotta be doing, you know, and it's something which we gotta get on that love rock and roll, you know. So, it's something which we gotta do, you know, and so we gotta do, you know. French is in la belle province, we just gotta do it. Then the French, you know. So here we are. And you gotta check some birds, ready for that French rock and roll on the go. Let's go in 4, 5, 3, 5, 1, French. Français, bienvenue sur la montagne des jeux québécois et québécoises. Je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique. L'entraînement physique est extrêmement médecine et thérapie de choix. Puis je vous encourage avec amour de faire le plus possible d'entraînement physique. Je commence avec la gratitude dès que je vois le soleil. Le coucher du soleil, un peu de rouge sur la montagne, le Mont-Royal, ma deuxième maison ici, où j'adore venir. Faire la méditation, bien sûr. Une bonne méditation sur la montagne, dans la sauvagerie, dans le bois. Avec la civilisation de la métropole, la construction d'autres centrales d'Hydro-Québec, ah oui, que je vous chante pour les châteaux. Et même si je vis un stress financier en ce moment, je vis un stress financier. Je vais me tourner de la gauche, de la droite, puis soyez prudents si vous rentrez ou que je vais dans le bois. Ici, corps est dû au fait que il y a certaines branches qui peuvent tomber, comme vous voyez des branches, fait que si vous entendez, des fois moi-même, je fais le nettoyage, je jette, je dégage le chemin pour voir toutes ces branches qui tombent d'en haut. Fait que soyez prudents parce que vous êtes sur la montagne, puis les arbres, des fois, mais les arbres peuvent tomber, puis possible que ça tombe. Donc, en temps de crise de la géopolitique, votre artiste, athlète, philosophe, analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, première fois sur la montagne avec les nouvelles bottes, puis j'aimerais ça me permettre un massage thérapeutique. Je vais prendre un bain, mais que je me rends chez nous. Ça a été quand même une grosse semaine d'entraînement physique, puis bien sûr, il faut que je fasse ma gratitude, que je ralentis un peu, pour pas que j'aille des crampes. J'aimerais ça me permettre un massage thérapeutique, athlétique. Je peux pas me le permettre, tu sais, je peux pas me le permettre en ce moment, mais des amis avec bénéfice seulement, des bénévoles. Prêtez allégeance, Légion, vous êtes famille. Prêtez allégeance, Légion, vous êtes famille. Prêtez allégeance, Légion, vous êtes famille. Vos dragons arc-en-ciel qui vous chantent bien du bois dans le bois, ça sent télé. Mais dans les airs, pas besoin de l'eau bénite, donnez-moi de la bière en place. Ah oui, tous ensemble, sur le côté, sur la rivière, sur le bord de la rivière, en haut puis en haut du ciel. Que ça fasse bien, regarde, que ça saute. Comme des serpents, ça danse. Des serpents, ça s'élance. J'aime les serpents moi-même. Je sais pas si vous avez des préférences pour certains animaux plus que d'autres, mais moi, les animaux, la flore et la faune, généralement, j'aime ça. Bon, les éperviers aussi, les écureuils aussi. Là, je veux pas tarder, encore une fois, la gratitude, j'ai payé mon loyer, ma facture d'électricité, même si je vis une crise financière. Je dois me porter, bien sûr, pour parler de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, car, et bien sûr, le fait, là, qu'on est rendu à un point de crise, fait que, financièrement parlant, je parle de, pas juste en géopolitique, car vous savez que j'ai l'Asperger's, donc je suis neurodivergent, mon cerveau est différent, fait que j'ai des intérêts qu'on appelle obsessifs, mais la terminologie que j'utilise, c'est des intérêts spéciaux. Donc nous, les Asperger's, comment qui font partie de cette petite communauté, parce qu'il n'y a pas beaucoup d'Asperger dans le monde, c'est moins d'1%, moins de 0,5%, moins de 0,44. Fait que nous, les Aspergers, aussi connus comme les autistes monofonctionnels, on a ces intérêts spéciaux, puis on est super concentrés, super dedans, super intense dans ces intérêts-là. C'est sûr que ces intérêts-là peuvent faire interférence avec les autres parties de la vie, tu sais. Au quotidien. Fait que moi, je dédie des heures par jour à ma trinité d'intérêts spéciaux, puis c'est la géopolitique 24/24, l'entraînement physique soit la danse, 24/24, le sport que je préfère, c'est la danse. Mais l'entraînement physique, le sport généralement parlant, puis le rock'n'roll. Le rock'n'roll. Donc, le rock'n'roll. Donc, bien sûr, le rock'n'roll. Fait que le rock'n'roll, c'est quelque chose que moi, j'y tiens. Bon, c'est mon intérêt spécial. Mais la géopolitique d'aujourd'hui, je dois dire, parce que je dois le dire, bien sûr, ben, c'est quelque chose que j'ai prévu moi-même. Donc, moi, j'ai prévu une conflagration internationale en 2019, en octobre, en novembre. Ça fait des années que je fais des analyses, des théories de la collaboration avec les services secrets d'intelligence, mais en tout cas, je ne vais pas discuter de toutes mes théories, surtout de la théorie de la défense mobile, parce que c'est des choses qui sont d'intérêt de la sécurité nationale, puis je mets ça en ligne publique, donc c'est pas quelque chose que je dois discuter trop en détail, parce que c'est des théories originales, que ma contribution pour la défense de la sécurité nationale. Donc, dans cette manière, pour dire, bien sûr, que j'ai prévu la situation actuelle qui se déroule en ce moment. Fait que j'avais prévu la situation qui se déroule en ce moment, je l'avais prévu la situation qui se déroule en ce moment en 2019. En octobre, en novembre, en 2019. En octobre, en novembre, en 2019. Fait qu'ayant prévu cette situation, j'ai créé moi-même un système d'entraînement physique qui ne requiert aucun équipement. Fait que ça ne requiert aucun équipement, puis bien sûr, c'est des choses, bien sûr, que moi aussi, je dois le faire dans ce point d'encombrement pour faire dans cette situation de neurodivergence de laquelle je vis. Tu sais, je suis différent moi-même, fait que juste soyez prudent, hein. Vous voyez comme des branches ici, là, tu sais, là, ça tombe ici, fait que des fois, j'avertis les gens, mais si vous faites du jogging comme les autres ils font, mais vous êtes plus en sécurité parce que le plus vite que vous allez, le moins, c'est par mathématiques, là, les calculs, le moins que ça tombe sur vous. Fait que quand les gens marchent plus tranquillement, je les avise. Quand je vois les gens qui courent, font la course sur le jogging, je les avertis moins, mais dans des autres vidéos, vous voyez quand les gens ils vont en pas de marche, je les avertis que c'était passé parce que je l'ai vécu moi-même sur mes autres vidéos. Des fois, je tourne, puis ça tombe, ça va tomber sur moi, mais vous savez, ça tombe sur le côté, là, ça peut tomber sur la tête. Fait que soyez prudent si vous rentrez dans... Ici, c'est la forêt, hein. Si vous êtes dans la forêt, vous êtes dans la nature, là, fait que... Un bon samaritain que j'essaie d'être, un bon samaritain, donc pour vous dire de ça. Là, je veux dire la géopolitique, c'est mon intérêt spécial, puis bien sûr, j'ai pris la situation actuelle en 2019, puis principalement, mon appel, c'est pour un partenariat public-privé. Quand je dis soutenir, prêter allégeance, légion, vous êtes famille. 100% pour le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse. Puis, bien sûr, c'est pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, le collectif nord-américain. Pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. Fait que mes théories protocole, pour la création d'une unité d'échange universel, il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la réfusion de la dette, car on est à la veille et proche d'avoir un effondrement des finances publiques. Pourquoi je me prononce de même? Parce que l'année passée, on avait payé 46,5 milliards d'intérêts. OK? En 2020-2021, le montant était de 20,3 milliards. Fait que si vous faites le calcul, 20,3 fois 2, c'est 40,6. OK? Ça, c'est le montant. Bien, c'est sûr qu'à cause de la COVID, puis moi-même, j'ai survécu la COVID. Donc, le même principe mathématique s'applique pour un individu qui a l'intérêt, si l'intérêt double, citoyen X, Y, Z, si l'intérêt que vous avez payé, moi j'ai pas de carte de crédit personnellement, je suis 10 000 de dette à la Banque Royale, c'est une ligne de crédit, donc l'intérêt est de 10,44%. Mais, si l'intérêt que vous avez payé, ça double, citoyenne ou quelqu'un d'autre, si ça saute de 156 156 fois 2, c'est 312. Si ça va de 156, OK, à 333, sans que le salaire double. Moi, je ne connais pas bien les salaires qui ont doublé, là, la moyenne des salaires qui a augmenté, l'augmentation moyenne des salaires a augmenté de 4,4% en 5 ans depuis 2020. Fait qu'en 3 ans, ça a plus que doublé. Tu sais. Ça a plus que doublé. Ça a plus que doublé bien sûr, de 156 à 333. Fait que ce montant-là, c'est énorme. 20,3 milliards fois 2, c'est 40,6. Fait que c'était 46,5. 46,5. L'année passée, des milliards, tu sais. Des milliards, bien sûr, des milliards. Fait 46,5 milliards, c'est 46 000 millions. 46 000 millions. Fait que ce montant-là, c'est un chiffre énorme. Imaginez-vous là, qu'on est en train d'avoir un effondrement financier des finances publiques. Fait que 46 000 milliards, là, c'est un chiffre énorme, tu sais. C'est un chiffre tellement énorme, on est en train d'avoir un effondrement parce que l'intérêt seulement a plus que doublé là, en seulement 3 ans. Puis oui, à cause des programmes qu'on a dû faire, à cause de la coronavirus, la COVID, que moi-même j'ai survécu. Mais en ce moment, il n'y a pas de solution, là, ça. Que la TRD ou quelque chose qui ressemble à la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Fait que c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on fasse. Et c'est des choses, bien sûr, que moi-même, il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation dans cet espace d'où qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui pour faire la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Fait que, bien sûr, on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, on va faire la conversion, mais on va faire l'implémentation de ma TRD, qui est dans la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Ça inclut la théorie de la intégration monétaire, ce qui est la théorie que les Européens ont fait de l'implémentation en des années, ça fait longtemps, ça fait des années 90, ça fait plus que 25 ans. Fait que dans ma TRD, c'était intégré la théorie de la refusion de la dette. Dans la TRD, je veux dire, dans la théorie de la refusion de la dette, est intégrée la théorie d'intégration monétaire, ce qui est la théorie financière que les Européens ont fait de l'implémentation dans les années 90. Bon, on n'a pas le choix de le faire, là. On est en train d'avoir bientôt, là, c'est possible la semaine prochaine, après Pâques, que l'effondrement se passe. L'effondrement des finances publiques, l'intérêt qu'on a payé seulement sans que ça a plus que doublé, sans qu'elle vous comprenez, là, le principe mathématique, c'est une personne, là, citoyen qui a l'intérêt, ça double, il faut que ça coupe dans le budget, il faut que vous arrêtez dans le budget, il faut que vous coupez soit du fromage, soit le Netflix, soit quelque chose, les abonnements que vous avez de plus, soit quelque chose que vous mangez trop, la cigarette, il faut que vous... C'est le même principe, là. Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper dans le public? Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper dans les finances publiques? Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper dans les finances publiques? On va couper, bien sûr, quoi? La sanitation, le ramassage des poubelles, le compostage, la manufacture. Qu'est-ce qu'on va faire? On va couper l'armement, la défense nationale, la police, la GRC, la gendarmerie royale, les prisons. Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper? Il va falloir qu'on coupe, vous comprenez? Fait que la TRD, je vous l'explique, la théorie de la refusion de la dette, on va faire l'implémentation parce qu'avec les États-Unis, il faut qu'on travaille ensemble. Puis la situation financière, publique-privée, c'est quand même dans le même... C'est quand même similaire. Donc, on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée. On va prendre mon 10 000, ton 10 000 de côte à côte. On va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis. Tout cet argent-là, on va faire bien sûr une conversion. On va faire l'argent, une conversion. Fait que tout cet argent-là, on va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis. Des États-Unis. Bien sûr. Tout cet argent-là, on va faire ensemble. On va faire la conversion de toute la dette publique-privée, comme on dit bien. La devise des États-Unis, on va faire l'ajout, on va faire l'addition avec la dette des États-Unis. Canada, États-Unis ensemble. Canada, États-Unis ensemble. Donc, toute cette dette-là, ça va faire la fondation d'un nouvel ordre financier pour le collectif nord-américain. On va faire la création d'une nouvelle monnaie. Fait que toute la dette publique-privée, ça va être converti dans la devise des États-Unis. On va faire l'addition. Puis tout cet argent-là, on va faire la création d'une nouvelle monnaie qui va être sur la valeur, basée sur la valeur du dollar des États-Unis, le UI. U point unité, point échange ou point universel. U point unité, point échange ou point universel. U point unité, point échange ou point universel. Le UI, le UI, en anglais, c'est pareil. On ne s'obstinera pas. Oui. Avec cet argent-là, on va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10%. Il ne pourra plus avoir plus que 10%. On va rebâtir l'infrastructure du collectif nord-américain, du Canada, des États-Unis, du Québec. Les ponts, les aqueducs. On va bâtir le Colisée du peuple impérial sur la frontière canado-états-unienne, qui va être le plus grand Colisée au monde, sportif pour le sport in perpetuity, sur 24 sur 24, 24 sur 24. Et bien sûr, c'est des choses comme ça qu'il faut on va faire, bien sûr, dans la situation, bien sûr, qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui, bien sûr, pour le faire, bien sûr, cette implémentation. Fait que toute la dette publique, on va faire ensemble, on va rebâtir l'infrastructure, on va bâtir plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec, on va financer les gens au tourisme, financer la construction des plus de centrales de Québec, financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, financement des constructions, bâtir les 44 tunnels. 44 de chiffres après 43 avant 45, c'est 44 tunnels basés, inspirés sur la montagne Cheyenne. Et dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire, c'est possible qu'il y ait une guerre thermonucléaire. J'ai prévu qu'il y aura une guerre comme se passe aujourd'hui, les conflits internationaux, la géopolitique. C'est possible que la Chine envahisse le Taïwan. C'est possible qu'on rentre en conflit direct avec la Russie puis la Chine dans les jours, semaines, mois à venir. C'est fort probable. Là. C'est pas quelque chose qui est exclu aujourd'hui. C'est le monde qui a changé. C'est l'ordre. C'est un monde différent, plus dangereux de la géopolitique. Mais nous, là, principalement les Québécois et les Canadiens, notre intérêt principalement en géopolitique, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations possibles avec les États-Unis. Puis ça, il faut que ça soit oui en géopolitique. Et il n'y a pas de oui et non. Le roi Charles est absent, c'est le temps pour la République. Il faut qu'on fasse un recensement, Québec, Canada, il faut qu'on fasse un passeport commun, une sécurité pour la service pour la défense, les ports et les aéroports. De côte à côte, les ports et les aéroports, les ports et les aéroports. De côte à côte, les ports et les aéroports, les ports et les aéroports. Et bien sûr, ici, on bâtit la pyramide, la pyramide du dragon. Écarlate, rouge, écarlate, c'est rouge. Puis là, je veux bâtir le temple de la déesse, oubliez, le temple de la déesse. Moi, je veux bâtir un temple de la déesse, parce que je crédite avoir survécu la COVID à la déesse, tu sais. C'est la déesse, Dieu déesse, là, mais j'ai une spiritualité quand même assez mystique. C'est sûr qu'il y a des choses que je ne sais pas moi-même. Tu sais. Il y a des choses, c'est plus de questions que de réponses. Là. La spiritualité demande-moi pas toutes les choses parce que je ne les connais pas. Tu sais, je pourrais pas vous dire, là, mais il y a des choses que moi-même je ne sais pas. Bon, that's it, that's all. Faites l'amour à soi, faites l'entraînement physique, puis je vous encourage bien sûr et tout à faire l'entraînement physique. C'est quelque chose que moi je fais souvent, c'est quelque chose qui m'intéresse, c'est dans un intérêt commun. Et bien sûr, c'est quelque chose que moi aussi j'en fais, tu sais. Fait que, let's go for the cadence. Let's go for the cadence. Let's really go for the cadence. Get ready, rock and roll. Cadence. Dragon Army military cadence. Here we can build the, please don't pollute. That's gotta be recycled, that's gotta be recycled, and that's gotta be recycled with that. And I love, of course, dinos are cool. Gotta get it on the go with that, and that's where it gotta go. Designed in Canada, made in China, but this can be swallowed and this can harm some creatures here. So this has to be recycled. So here we can build the pyramid, House of the Dragon. Scarlet red right here, scarlet red. There, nothing big, you know, just from there to there, scarlet red, and there we can build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, face to face, pyramid, House of the Dragon for the headquarters of the Dancing and the Dragon Kingdom, the Dancing Goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which I'm laying the foundation with rock and roll, trillions of kisses, and let's go get ready for that cadence. Let's go for that Dragon Army cadence. For that. Let's go for the cadence. Dragon Army, get ready, property of the Dragon Army, property of the Dragon Army, property of the Dragon Army, cadence. Cadence, let's go, get ready. Dragon Army, on the march in the cities, in the city, in the forest, on the mountain, on the rivers. Dragon Army, gotta see. In harmony, step by step, you gotta be. Gotta get it for the butchers, gotta get it for the butchers. For the construction workers and the firefighters. Firefighters and the butchers. Gotta give and get some looks. Gotta give some love and look. Gotta give some books. Gotta read some books, do some push-ups and some hugs, Dragon Army. Some of my dragons are black, some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are rainbow, some of my dragons are rainbow. All of my dragons, none of my dragons are born a dragon. Some of my dragons are white, some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white, some of my dragons are black, some of my dragons are rainbow. What do we march for? Butchers and the bakers, nurses and the doctors, firefighters, and the plumbers and the electricians, truckers on the road, railway conductors coast to coast, for the 63 legions of the kingdom, Canada, United States. Fuse the north through strong and free with the south. Home of the brave, land of the free. We gotta add some love and ain't nobody by the sea. Let's go step to step in harmony. Gotta give it for the kisses, for the firefighters, for the cooks. Gotta flip some burgers for those cooks. We can't be bought, we can't be bribed. We can be bribed, we can be bought, we can be bought, we can be bribed. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Dragon army, that's a sight. Gotta give from lovers, lovers and the butchers, plumbers and the electricians and the youth. Gotta give some hugging, gotta give some hugging. All the rainbow and the black and white and rainbow, gotta dance and kiss and say hello. So to me, I see you go, so to me, I seen you go. For the road in the French, for the French and the English. Here we, Quebec, la belle province. Here we, Quebec, la belle province. Gotta give it for the road, gotta give it for the road. Gotta give it for the left, gotta give it for the do. Gotta give it for the you, gotta give it for the do. And the left and the free and the bright. And the bright and the left and the free. Gotta give it for the do, gotta give it for the you. Gotta give it for the left and right and see. Gotta give it for the now, gotta give it for the left. Gotta give it for the sets, gotta give it for the reps. Gotta give me upset, gotta give some me a blessed. Gotta give it for the legions, gotta live for me for legions. Gotta get it for the love, gotta live for the love. For my homos, for my homos. Gotta sing a rock and roll for my homos. Gotta give it for my homos, gotta give it for the right, black and white. Dragon army for my homos. For my homos. Gotta love it black and white. This is for my homos. Black and white and rainbow. For that. Black and white. That's my favorite skyscraper right there. Rainbow. Got him. Got that. Militarized police. Firefighters, put your hands up. Firefighters love fire. Firefighters. Firefighters love our firefighters. Firefighters, boys. Big dicks. Whiteboard, big dicks. Intercept. Sit. Firefighters. All right, we continue the cadence. Please, please, please. I don't mind you eating cookies, but don't leave that there, please. Put it in the recycling for the environment, you know. Just for Mother Nature here and my fellow cousins there. Anyways, let's go continue the cadence. Cadence, we gotta get it for the left. Gotta get it for the right. Gotta get it for the left, for the right, and for the side. Gotta get it for the left, for the right, and for the side. Gotta get it for the night, and for the lights. Gotta get it for the cadence. Let's go, military cadence, Dragon Army, property of the Dragon Army. We cannot be bought, created by freestyling now on the Mount Royal, 18th of April. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. We cannot be bribed, we cannot be bought. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed, we cannot be bought. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed, we cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Cannot be bought. God, we cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Dragon Army, that's a sight. On the steps, you know we're right. Gotta get it for the love. Gotta get it for the do. Gotta get it for me. Gotta get it for you. Gotta get it for the right. Gotta get it for the sight. Gotta get it for the love. Gotta get it for the do. Gotta get it for the you. Gotta get it for the you. All the curses against me bounce back like the dust of the pyramid sea. All the curses against me bounce off like the curse of the pyramid sea. All the curses against me like the pyramid sea. Let's go, Dragon Armies. I'm gonna just wait a bit, before I resume the continuation of the Dragon Army cadence, so I don't be a bit loud, for my fellow cousins there, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that. Speaking of the pyramids, we still don't know how they were built. There's still a mystery. The building of the pyramids. Just one rock is tens of thousands of tons. Pyramids. They're actually temples, So, that's what it is with that. Anyways. Guys, you gotta be careful, because the branches fall sometimes here. So the more you guys stay here, because I know this is like my second home, the more you guys stay, the more you're at risk.
Of what, the branches?
Falling branches, the trees, the health of the trees is not 100%. So that's why I'm just letting you guys know, because this is like my second home,
Is this the way up to the parking?
Which parking you mean?
By the...
So you can go through here, you can cross over to the...
Maison Smith, is it up?
Yeah, Maison Smith, exactly. So that's why I let you guys know, as you can see many branches on the side,
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes I toss them myself, when I lived myself It didn't fall on me, but see those ones?
Oh yeah.
You just gotta be prudent, okay? If you decide to stay.
Yeah, we're not.
Okay. You need some water? So the best way from Maison Smith would be straight ahead, although this is a bit steep. Here's some rocks, and
Otherwise, that way.
so that way is gonna be turning. You can go that way, but the shortest route would be for you guys to just proceed by there, or by here. Where are you guys from? RTO. Okay, so you're Canadians.
Yeah.
Okay. See, like these branches. So if you go,
Go up this way.
yeah, I would recommend, and it's just straight down afterwards. You're welcome. Bye bye. So anyways, that's what we gotta get doing, you know, because here the branches fall, and I let people know because I witness, you know, if they fall like on the side, and all of these are tossed. Some of them are tossed from the side here, see, like that. So they fall, you know. So you gotta be prudent because you're in the wilderness. You're not in. That's why when people who come here, they don't know too much. So I let them know because sometimes it falls on the side, and gotta get it for the love side of things, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. So they're from Toronto, so they're close back, and that's how we gotta get doing on the love, and that's how we gotta get doing on the love. So we gotta get something which we gotta get doing with that, you know. So it's something which we gotta be mindful of. Just be careful. You come here, just look up here. The more you stay and the slower you move, the more you're at risk. The more you stay, the slower you move, the more you're at risk here. The more you stay here where I am now, because of the branches on the trees, the slower you go. So speed and time, the length that you spend here, the more you're at risk of falling branches. There's wind can blow. I don't know. See, look at those. You don't want those. Those are about to fall. So you see all around those fell. So back to the Dragonomy cadence. Dragonomy cadence on the go. For the butchers, for the bakers, for the nurses, for the doctors, and for the plumbers, for the firefighters. Gotta sing some little rock and roller. Gotta sing some rock and roller. For the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the firefighters, the truckers on the road, Gotta get it so you know, gotta get it so you know. For the left and right we dope, for the left and right we dope, for the left and right we dope. For the rope, there's some loving. For the youth, for the squirrel crossing my path, gotta give it what you got. Let's go, Dragonomy. For the cadence, so you know. For the do, and for the show. For the love, for the train conductors, for those flipping burgers, cheese on it, or some of that fire, love it. Watching on the steps, going on so though you're set. Gotta give them place to rest. We're some of the Dragonomy. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are rainbow. None of my dragons are born a dragon. 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 Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. None of my dragons are born a dragon. None of my dragons are born a dragon. None of my dragons are born a dragon. Gotta spin it for the web. IT workers, give me some Dragonomy set. For the left and for the right. For the time it is to rise. For the time it is to rise. On the 9. Got a little bit of science. Got the Dragonomy cadence. Got a little bit of science. Got a dragon army cadence, got a little bit of science, got a dragon army cadence. Flavor for the go, flavor for the show. Let's go one more step, step on the side, left and the right. And you know that I am General Cuckold. When I say who am I, you respond, the greatest cuckold in the universe. Who am I, Rainbow Dragon? You say, greatest cuckold in the universe. When I say who am I, General Rainbow Dragon, greatest cuckold in the universe. After midnight I'm a woman. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. After midnight I'm a woman. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. After midnight I'm a woman. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Hey, the baker's baking bread. That you know we got a lead. Construction workers on the cranes. Skyscrapers building planes. Aviation, those conductors, trains. Aviation, those conductor trains. IT workers, microchips. 3G, 4G, 5G on the tower, on the tower. How many? How many? Maybe many, maybe less. Dragon Army, we strive to be the best. For the SSD. SSD equals SSD. Service, security, and defense. SSD equals service, security, and defense. SSD equals service, security, and defense. SSD equals service, security, and defense. Gotta get it one more glance. One more glance. Tap the hands and rock and roll. On the trainers as you go. Tap the dance and rock and roll. I see the sunset, that's a load. See the sunset, that's a load. They gotta give some rock and roll for the truckers on the road. Gotta march and rock and roll for the truckers on the road. Gotta get a little sunset. Sun is rising, sun is setting. Every second there's a sunrise and a sunset. Every second there's a sunset and a sunrise. Every second there's a sunset and a sunrise. Gotta give it coast to coast. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Gotta give nobody one. Nobody one, that's the one. Gotta give it for the me. Gotta give it for the me. Gotta give it for the do. Gotta give it for the you. Gotta give it for the you. Gotta give it for the do. Gotta give it for the do. Rainbow gotta give it. Gotta sing it, you can miss it. Gotta left and right, we hiss it. So you know we got some missing. Gotta check it for the rainbow. Gotta get it for you know. Gotta get it for you know. Gotta get it for the dough. Gotta get it for the do. Red and setting, red and rising. Red and setting, red and rising. So you know we gotta do it. So you know we gotta do it. Gotta love and you to sight it. Gotta love and you to light it. Gotta love and you to be it. Gotta love and you to sing it. For the fire and the water. For the fire and the water. Gotta left and right it. Gotta learn how you to ride it. Gotta left and right it. And you see ready to see. Get some XYZ and XYZ. Gotta get it for the do. Gotta get it for the you. Gotta get it for the love. For the sunset and some love. Gotta see the sunset love. For the red and for the sunset. Gotta give it for the hydro. Get back and you can see we gotta lead. So you love, you gotta be. So you love, you gotta see. On the left and on the right. for the rainbow on the sight, for the rainbow on the love. That's a me, some you to love. Gotta see it for the love. Gotta see it for the do. Gotta see it for the you. Gotta see it for the do. Hey, you know we rock and roll up in the dew, up in the blue, up in the blue. And you know we gotta sing, and you know we gotta sing. For the march ready to bling, for the march ready to bling. And another rock and roll the pain we bring, rock and roll the pain we bring. For the sunset on the sea, for the sunset on the sea. Finally we gotta be, finally we gotta be. For the left and right you bees. Butchers and the farmers and the truckers and the plumbers. We gotta give it for you want us, gotta give it for you want us. Gotta give it for you want us, gotta give it so you want it. Gotta give it for the left, gotta see it for the upsets. Gotta love up in the less, gotta give up in the less. Lesson of the love we be, lesson of the love we be. So you know we harmony, so you know we harmony. I just love some radio B, I just love some radio B. I just love that radio C. Hey, I don't mean to stare, I'm an aspie. Sometimes I admit it, I'm not guilty. Play it black and white and rainbow, men and women not go nasty. Gotta sing it so you see, gotta sing it so you be. Man and women not go nasty, man and women not go nasty. I'm a man and I'm a woman. Some of my dragons are dragonesses, some of my dragons are dragonesses. Gotta spell it with an S, gotta spell it with a D. Dragons gotta live that harmony. Gotta spell it with a D, gotta spell it with a B. For the cheese and for the bacon. For the cheese and for the bacon. Gotta give somebody lessons. Gotta give somebody lessons. Gotta give it so you see. Gotta give it so you be. Gotta give it so you see, you know. So gotta give it so you be, you know. Gotta give it so you see. Gotta give it you and me. Gotta give it. Gotta give it so you be. You and me. Let's go on the road, gotta get back home. From my second home, I gotta go back home now. I still got 2 hours to get that rock and roll, eh? So I still got some miles until I get back. It's far from where I live. I'm grateful, thankful I saw the sunset. Sun is always rising, always setting. So let's finish with a cadence. Rock and roll. For the farmers, for the butchers, for the plumbers, for the lovers, for the butchers, for the plumbers and the electricians, for the plumbers and the lovers, for the lovers and the butchers, for those gotta do it for the love, gotta do it for the love. You know we gotta do it on the love, we gotta do it on the love, you know we gotta do it on the love. So we gotta see you be, so we gotta see you be. You know, so we gotta see you see. You gotta go up in the love, gotta go up in the love. So you know, ready to kiss, ready to hug. Ready to kiss, ready to hug. Left and right and rainbow, up and down we go. Left and right and rainbow, up and down we go. Left and right we rainbow, up and down we go. So that you see, so that you be. Left and right we go, up and down and rainbow, up and down and rainbow. We gotta see so that you know, gotta see so that you know, gotta see. Let's go. Why the 5? Why? Five, where's the 6? That's a 5 minus 6. Months are years, months are years. That's a month's ready today. Today is all I got. Carpe diem. Today, hey, I don't mind a bit of gray. I don't mind a bit of gray. Nobody dies, not tonight, not today. I don't mind a little bit of gray. But nobody dies, not tonight, not today. I don't mind a little bit of gray, but nobody dies. Not tonight, and not today. I don't mind a little gray, but nobody dies. Not tonight, not today. Gotta give it for the sleigh. Gotta give it for the bay. Gotta give it for the sleigh. Gotta give it. Farmers, butchers, electricians, plumbers, nurses, farmers, doctors, train conductors, for the lovers, for the youth. Construction workers gotta look. And you know that rainbow dragons. Some of my dragons are black, some of my dragons are white, some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. All move and stand in formation. All move and stand in formation. That sing across the nations. For the kingdom pledge allegiance. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Somebody making love tonight. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Hope somebody making love tonight. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Hope somebody loves tonight. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Hope somebody loves tonight. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Hope somebody loves tonight. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Hope somebody loves tonight. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Hope somebody loves tonight. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Hope somebody loves tonight. Pledge your allegiance, legions, prêter allégeance, légion. Got a rock and roll cadence. Over time, every time. Adrian Hanna Dragon, you know how we rock and roll.